Hey everybody, Tennessee Fats here. We're out in the barn. I think it's time for us to have a conversation. Serious conversation. Today we're going to talk about the future of comics. I think this is going to be the first one in a series of rants and ramblings of Tennessee Fats. No, I'm just kidding. This is not going to be the first one in a series of rants and ramblings from Tennessee Fats. What this is going to be, it's probably the first in, maybe two or three, where we just talk about the comics industry as it currently stands. Now, as I'm recording this, it is what? August 2019. To give you a sense of where the comics market is right now, obviously movies are going like crazy. I understand that Marvel and Sony just had yet another spat about who gets the rights to produce what Spider-Man movie when and where. But I guess they've worked that out. But I think one of the biggest issues that we need to talk about here is really print comics. Where are they going and what's going to happen to them? I don't think it's a secret, and I think any comic retailer out there will back me up on this one, that comic sales right now, 2019, are nowhere even close to where they were in, let's call it, I don't know, the heyday of the early 1990s. The heyday meaning the heyday in sales, not the heyday in quality. There's a difference there. So in the early 1990s, as many of you will remember, the comic industry exploded. Speculation ran rampant. Everybody needed 5 and 10 copies of everything. And it's interesting. I mean, there are certain real aspects of why that speculation market grew. And there are certain very fake aspects of why that speculation market grew. And there's also certain aspects that are both real and fake of what was going on in the comics industry at the time. If you ask me, looking back on it, I'd say, perception's 9/10 of reality. And a whole lot of people then were really just selling them. And by them, I mean the individuals, the personalities behind the books, not the books. But whatever. I mean, whatever it takes to sell the books, that's fine by me. Anyways, well, here we are, 30 years later almost from the heyday. And comic sales by issue are down. I mean, a really good selling book right now is maybe coming close to 100,000 copies. And if you look at who's buying them, and it's interesting, I'm going to make a different video about why I've been spending time lately in the comic shop on New Comic Day, which started and abruptly stopped just because of one thing. And it had nothing to do with the comic shop, it just had to do with the miniseries that I was looking at ended. No big deal. But I can tell you what I observed from being there. And this is the summer months, right, where kids would be in the store. On all those new days, let me tell you what I saw there. Middle-aged men. Not kids. Middle-aged men. Middle-aged men are buying books. Now, maybe it's different, later in the afternoon. I don't know. I'm thinking if it's the summer months and you're a kid, you got nothing to do, why wouldn't you go and buy a comic book if that's what you're interested in? But the more and more I look into it, the more and more I see that kids aren't the one buying books. Kids are never the ones buying books anymore. And it's interesting. I made this observation. And suddenly all this anecdotal information in the back of my head came forward, and I went, holy crap, yeah, every time I go to a comic show with my kids, there's a stigma about you. The dealers look at you like, oh, keep your kids away from my table. And it's like, what? These are kids. These are the guys that are going to be buying yours. These are the kids you want to draw in to this hobby. Otherwise, this hobby is going to die. But the mystique out there and the raison d'etre to the industry is very much one of, no, we want to cater to this, I guess, the rich collectors. And by rich, I'm air quoting that, in their 40s, the middle-aged men. Maybe middle-aged women too, I don't know, I didn't see any. But it seems to be that that's what they're trying to cater to. At least in what they're selling, because if you think about it, if you're spending $6, $7, $8 a book, who the hell can afford that? It's a kid. Nobody can afford that. What kids have that kind of money? None. So really, what's this industry heading into? It really makes me wonder. And these are the questions I'm seriously asking myself. I'm stepping back because I'm now thinking long term. Maybe middle-agedness. Middle-agedness. That's now a term. Maybe middle-agedness gives you a lot of perspective, but suddenly you start thinking long term. You're no longer thinking 2 years down the road. You're thinking 30 years down the road. Are we even still going to be pressing these damn things? 30 years? All the concerns about the environment right now? Are we going to be cutting down trees to print these fancy 4-color books? Like, Does anybody know the answer to that question? I don't think they do. But if we are going to be doing this, do we need to seriously step back and ask, how are we handling this market? I think we do. I really do think we do. Let me give you a snippet here. This came from, oh, by the way, this is a King Conan book. It's King Conan number 3. When was this? September of 1980. Oh, by the way, this comic could be worth $2,500 to you. I always wondered what the hell this banner at the top meant. So then I bought this and I read it because I'm going to be shooting this later. But I said, let's read them before I shoot them. I did enjoy these when I was a kid. I came across this. Now, I'm going to put up this right here in a sidebar over here for you guys to read while I'm going through this. So this is the contest that, if anyone who's buying 1980s comics, will have seen this banner across the top of Harper Books. This is the contest, but I want to first talk about the message. This is a 30-year-old message from the then editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter, okay? And he was writing this to kids. Not adults like me, kids. Okay. Give you a bit of history here. The early 1980s, this is September. Hold on, September, yeah, 1980. Early 1980s, okay. December 1980s. So, 1970s, rapid inflation. A lot of inflation running all throughout the United States and Canada. And coming into the 80s, I think the 80s in the U.S. had an inflation rate of 13%. Double-digit inflation in the United States in the 1980s. That's substantial. So think about what that's doing to comic book prices. Oh, wastewater. Comic book prices, they're going up. Kids are suffering. This is a giant-sized 75-cent issue. Okay, in the early 1980s, it was actually pricey. They should have been around 60 cents. But then again, it's a giant size you're paying for. Here's a message from Jim Shooter. Like many other companies, we've been forced by rising costs and economic pressures to charge more for our comics. It would be easy to play innocent and point to the accusing finger at all the people who are charging us more for paper, printing supplies, and even the electricity for the old 40-watt fluorescent that burns dimly over our drawing boards late into the bleary-eyed hours of the night. We could blame them, but we won't. They're caught in the same one-way cost spiral as us. What we will do is something most folks aren't doing these days. Listen to this, Marvel. Apologize. Some folks think that inflation means you never have to say you're sorry. But we're sorry. And we're going to do our best to make it up to you. In just a month or two, we'll be adding extra pages, special features, and more sheer excitement than you can wiggle a web at. Okay. And while we're waiting, gearing up for these extra goodies, we've created a great new contest for you with some dandy-dazzling dynamite prizes see below. It's our way to give you, our friends, a little something back for your patience and loyalty, and we hope it'll be fun to shoot. Naturally, everyone can't win, but just for kicks, starting in November, we're going to print the name and address of every single entrant. So go to it, gang. In the immortal words of Irving Forbush, he who entereth not ain't likely to winneth. Okay. So the end of this is a spiel, and it talks about a contest. The beginning of this is apologizing for inflation and rising costs. How much does a comic book cost nowadays? 1980. Now, here's the really interesting aspect of this stuff. The actual contest. Okay, so bear this in mind here. We're actually running 3 contests. One for readers 10 years old and under, one for readers 11 to 14 years old, and one for readers 15 years old and older. What's the demographic group that's not buying comics these days? 10 years old and under, 11 to 14, and 15 years and older. Nobody's talking about the sex of the reader. They're talking about the age group. To enter, find the question for your age group below, and on a plain piece of paper, type or legibly print your answer. Mail your entry to the address listed under the questions for your age group. Be sure to write your name, address, state, city, zip code in your entry. Okay. Let's see, and then you get into a whole bunch of other stuff about, rules, yada, yada, yada. If you work for Marvel, you're not allowed to enter, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the questions. Actually, let's just stop here for a second. So, we're apologizing, first of all, for rising costs in comics. Bear in mind, we're not in a hyperinflationary time right now, but rising prices, apologies from the producer, and then a spin into a questionnaire. Now, this is where the actual smart business person in Jim Shooter, who I'm guessing came up with this, maybe he didn't, I don't know, but he sure as hell listened to somebody about this. Listen to the spin here. Okay, the questions. If you're 10 years or under, who's your favorite Marvel superhero and why? Simple question. But that's pretty good market surveying for what your readers actually want. Okay, ages 11 to 14. This is the hard one. Who's your least favorite Marvel character, and what can we do to improve him or her? It's 25 words or less. We're not just looking for market surveys of what our readers like. We're looking for market surveys of what they don't like, so we can improve them. Soliciting client feedback. Wow. 15 and older. Okay. How should the Marvel Universe change to face the challenges of the 1980s? What? How should the Marvel Universe change to face the challenges of the 1980s? They're asking their readers, the people who buy their books, what to do to survive. I don't see anybody doing that today. I sure as hell don't. I gotta tell you, this was a really telling one for me. Because here's Marvel facing a challenge, stepping back and asking their clients how to fix it. Now, obviously, the market's changed somewhat. Marvel's not Marvel anymore. Marvel's Disney. Disney usually does a pretty good job of actually soliciting responses from their clients. They survey, they do all sorts of stuff. They do study groups. I'm sorry. Here I am, hypothetically, the now target market for their books. I haven't got a phone call. Ain't no one phoning me asking me what I think. So what Marvel is doing, they're out there making movies with the intellectual property they bought when they bought Marvel. Okay, that's cool, I get that, but does it even make sense to keep doing the books now? Does it make sense for Marvel to step back and actually say, and by Marvel I mean Disney, does it make sense for them to step back now and say, we can't reach kids, the kids who used to be our market. What do we got to do to bring them back? I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I think the first part, though, is let's start asking some questions. My grandma and your grandma sitting by the fire. My grandma said, your grandma, I'm gonna set your flag on fire. Talk about no, no, aiko, aiko, ane. Whoa, kakamofi no anane. Kakamofi nane. Kakamofi nane. Hey, here's a question. Why hasn't Marvel included Kakamofi nane? Is that actually the name of the song? I don't care. Why haven't they included that in any of their movies yet? Jesus, the rate they're going, they're going to put it in Fast Car, for God's sakes. No, 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 no. Blah, 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 blah.